All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they work in your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right. Welcome once again. Another Monday night, another hot episode of Bring It. I am your host, the Big Dog, live here on the ASAP Network. And joining me once again, representing Warrior Nation, is my boy JK. What's up, brah?
How's it going? Good game on Friday.
Yeah, great game on Friday. We're going to talk about that. We're going to preview tonight, Game 5. Basically, going to lead up right to the tip-off at 9 o'clock, probably 9:10, knowing ABC, the way they do stuff.
Yeah.
But, they got to let everybody get their 2 cents. It depends on how much Stephen A. Smith talks in the pregame show, right?
True, yeah. That NBA countdown hinges on Stephen A. because he's going to get his words in, that's for sure.
He will definitely get. Hey, he's getting paid for it. He should be able to get his words in for sure. And we're gonna have some hockey talk later with Xander's going to join us, and we got all the other things here on the show tonight. But let's get into it. Game 4 the other night. You and I were texting during the game. I got home from my gig, and you and I were texting. And basically, let's talk about Steph. Steph was Jordan-esque the other night. So just talk about how money Steph was the other night.
That was I was thinking about this today, actually. I think we just witnessed Steph's greatest moment, because you got to think about the circumstances that he just overcame. You're down 2-1, you're on the road, and the team that you have around you, like offensively, they haven't been good. Like, they haven't been as efficient offensively as we're used to the Warriors. And Steph, from the first quarter, I think they were down like 2. He hits the 3, and he's chirping with the crowd on the road in the finals, down 2-1. They're not up yet. First quarter, he set the tone from the first quarter and just never let up. It was. I don't think I haven't seen anything like that from Steph Curry in his career. I mean, not in a moment like that. Like, he was absolutely spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
He was playing. I mean, he was playing with it like a man possessed the other night. I mean, he just knew. All right, this is we need to win this game. Get on my shoulders, boys. We're gonna go. He just. I mean, there were a couple. There was that one behind the back pass which he made, which I'm like, Steph, come on, no, we let's not get fancy. Let's get good. There was one play. I think it was might have been in the fourth quarter, where he dribbled towards the sideline, got double teamed. Clay came to the top of the key, posted up 3, just money. It was like, I mean, not only did Steph score, but he had great court vision, saw who was open, saw who was able to score, and Clay was able to score the other night. But my problem with the other night was, a lot of guys who seemed a little tense to shoot the ball. Mainly, and we're going to talk about Draymond in a couple minutes. Mainly, Poole, obviously his use showed the other night. I mean, Wiggins was insane from the boards, But tonight, the difference between the other night and tonight is Steph's going to get his, but I think the scoring needs to be it needs to be spread out. Then, there needs to have a 2-3 guys, with at least 17 to 25. It's got to be a nice spread out offense for them to win successfully tonight and have that confidence going into Game 6. That's how I see it.
I think you're right. The thing that the Warriors have that the Celtics don't really is the Warriors have the threat of somebody else going off. Exactly. They have the threat of multiple people going off. For the Celtics, it's either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. That's really it. That's it. Al Horford does 8 points. Like, that 20-point game in Game 1, he's never done that ever in his career, ever.
It was an anomaly, yeah, for sure.
Right. But on the Warriors, like I told you before, Game 4, you're not going to leave Klay Thompson open. That's just begging for trouble. Leave Jordan Poole open if you want to. That's just begging for trouble. And now Andrew Wiggins has been probably the second best person on the Warriors team, offensively and defensively. Big, what do you have? 16 rebounds? 16 rebounds from a small guard.
16. Yeah.
Like, that's insane. So if Andrew Wiggins is playing like that, and if Steph is putting up, well, he's averaging 34.3 in the playoffs percentage,
right.
or points per game. Sorry, he's averaging 34 points per game. If he's going to play like that, and you get Andrew Wiggins playing like he's playing, even if he gives you 7-8 rebounds, like, it's going to be hard to beat the Warriors, even with the offense that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have given. And can we talk about Jason Tatum for a second?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And this is where Boston has a problem, I think. This is where Boston has a problem, because they have the wrong guy as their leader. I had to watch the game twice. Like, the first time my emotions were in it, right? And so, like,
you watched the replay of this. Wow, okay. I want to hear this.
Yeah, I watched it again because I knew I had to be objective and actually watch the game. Jason Tatum went off in the first quarter and the first half, and then disappeared in the second half. Completely disappeared in the second half. Your leader cannot do that. The face of your franchise cannot do that. Not if you expect to win. And I think personally, they have the wrong guy as their leader. He's verbalized it himself. I don't know if I'm a superstar. I never said that I was a superstar. Jaylen Brown is the leader of that team. But because he's taken second seat to Jason Tatum, their mentality goes as Jason Tatum goes. The team goes as your leader goes. And so if your leader's like, oh, I don't know if I could do this, that kind of explains why they're not good in clutch time.
Right. Well, a key stat with the Celtics the other night, and I'm looking at it right now, is they had four starters in double figures. Tatum, Brown, Marcus Smart, and Derek White coming off the bench, not a starter. But the key stat that I'm looking at is the lack of assists. Tatum had the most assists at 6, whereas Marcus Smart had the second most at 5. Your guys who are distributing the ball, especially without the position Marcus Smart is playing on his team. Yeah, he's Defensive Player of the Year, but he's also the one pushing the ball up, distributing the ball. You got to have more assists. That's a big problem for this team, and especially the inexperience might find. I mean, we've been saying all playoffs how Boston's inexperienced. They're a young team; they've never been here before, and they've still never been here before. And in Game 1, they played lights out. But their inexperience might finally catch up to them tonight. That's what I see with those stats. And especially some of the plays they made. I mean, we all know the third quarter is the Warriors' quarter. It's been that way all playoffs. But I think what the Warriors
for a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. And they need to get off to a bigger lead going into the fourth quarter, because I told you I wanted a close game, and you're like, no, I want a blowout. I want a blowout, But yeah, it definitely was one of those things, I mean, let's talk from a Boston end, So what you're saying is Boston's floor leader needs to be, it can't be Tatum. It needs to be Brown or Smart in order for Tatum to succeed.
I won't say it can't be Tatum. I just don't think that Tatum's ready. I don't think he's ready for that role. And he keeps saying things like, who said I was a superstar? I didn't say that. Bro, this is the finals. This is the finals. You have a chance to etch your name in Boston history for, like, those people are rabid fans. They will never forget you. This is a big moment. When Jason Tatum has 7 assists, the team is undefeated. 7 assists, the team is undefeated. The problem is that's not Tatum's game. Tatum is a scorer. He's not a facilitator. Not really. He will facilitate, but he passes the ball because he attracts a lot of attention. I watched that game twice, like I told you. Watch Jason Tatum in the second half. He's driving, throwing the ball up, throwing his arms up, seeking contact. Like, your leader cannot do that. And in return, watch Steph the whole playoffs. Even when we lose Game 1, look at Steph at the end of the game. He's not down there, oh, I don't know if I'm the guy. He's doing this. Okay, next game. That's what you need from your leader. The person who is like that on the Boston Celtics is Jaylen Brown. That's their guy. That's their guy. You cannot have Marcus Smart bringing the ball up the court. This is not the offensive guy. This isn't Chris Paul. Like, Marcus Smart should be a 3. Jaylen Brown is their guy. That is their guy, the hard nose. Put your head down. I need a bucket. Jaylen Brown's going to get you the bucket. But they got the wrong guy as the face of the franchise, and that's going to come back to bite him because Tatum's not ready for this moment. He's not ready for this moment. He keeps saying that.
And it's interesting you say that because all day they were talking about how, right now, if there was an MVP for Boston, it would be more Jaylen Brown than it would be Jason Tatum. And they've been talking about. And it's funny, when I watch these games, Brown's wearing the same number that D Brown wore back in the day for Boston. So I'm like, wait, it's every time I see it, I think of D Brown back in the day for Boston, which is funny. Xander's backstage. Xander, we're going to get to you real soon. We're going to bring you in soon. We'll let you get your hockey stuff together. But I want to talk about Draymond. Big talk. He gets benched in the fourth quarter. He comes out and says, hey, it's whatever we need to do for the team, whatever the coach wants, whatever's best. Yeah, I don't like getting benched in the fourth quarter, but it was the right move at the right time. Is he showing face, or does he really believe that? Because Draymond's outspoken. He's got his podcast. He doesn't mince words. Does he know that he just was not having a good game and he needed to be on the bench for a while just to get himself together?
He knows, and what's even better is that he knows that Steve Kerr made the right decision. And you need that from your coach. You need that from your coach. Hall of Fame guy, you're not playing well. I don't care who you are. I'm going to bench you. That is great leadership from Steve Kerr. But Draymond knows. I mean, this is a champion. He has been here before. He's been leading teams forever. He knew he was not playing well. And those guys know that if they're not playing well, they're going to get benched just like everybody else on that team. There is no preferential treatment from Steve Kerr for anybody on the Warriors squad. If you are stinking up the joint, he will bench you. And Draymond is the type of person to respond to adversity. So his mom's calling him out on Twitter. Steve Kerr's benching him. Everybody's been talking about it. He's going to respond tonight. Watch him have a great Draymond game, which is 8 points, 12 assists, and 7 rebounds. Like he's gonna bounce back today. He's gonna bounce back today.
I hope he does, because I think he's truly what makes that machine work. And I think if he's working, if he's able to work the boards, if he's able to distribute the ball, it's going to free up Steph. It's going to free up Clay. It's going to free up Jordan Poole. It's going to make the ball move better. And he really needs to be focused and into the game and do what he does, And it's funny you say Hall of Fame, because people are back and forth with him. People think, oh, he's a system guy. Would he work in someone else's system? And that's a conversation for another show. But the bottom,
everybody, they said that about Tom Brady.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true. And he has proven us all wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But hey, the Giants
you don't win.
Twice, so.
That's true. You don't win 3. They've won 3 chips, right? You don't win 3 chips and be a system guy. Like that's.
I mean, well, exactly. But it's not football. See, it's summer. We don't talk about football. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. So I mean, this network is full of football. So let's have a non-football show. But anyway, the bottom line is tonight that I think it's must win for the Warriors tonight, because I think if they have to go into Boston and win a game 6 and come back and win 7, it's a lot of pressure. Where if they go into Boston up 3-2, they still have that home game in their pocket, and they can win a game 7 at home. Although the last game 7 they had at home against LeBron, they had the game against LeBron and they lost. So but that was a different team, different mindset, that whole sort of thing. So, I mean, would you agree with me that tonight is must win for the Warriors in order for them to really be able to have that little ease with them?
Yeah, I think it's must win for the Warriors for sure. If Boston wins this game, I think the series is over. Because it's going to be really hard after that Steph Curry performance for them to go back into Boston and win to stay alive, to send it back to San Francisco. I do think the Warriors have to win tonight, and I also think they are going to win tonight.
No, I definitely do think they're going to win tonight. I think they'll win convincingly tonight. I think
You think so?
between the cross country trip, it's back in that building. That building's going to be loud. That building's going to be pumped. I mean, Boston Garden is loud, but they get loud at the Chase Center. We've heard it on TV. You know, I definitely think that they're motivated. They're like, okay, this is our house. You know, we've been here before. We know how to win a game 5. You know, I mean,
I also think, Yoel, that it's must win for Boston too, because they're not good at home. They're 3-5 at home.
No, they've lost a bunch of game 6s. They lost game 6 in the Miami series to have to go back to 7. Yeah. So yeah,
they're lucky to get out of the Miami series. One guy almost beat them by himself, and he was hurt. You there? Did I lose you? I think I lost you. I think I lost him.
Yep, I think you did too. So we'll let y'all kind of come back, and I'll hop in for a couple minutes with you, Jonathan.
Sure.
I think we're gonna get y'all back.
Sorry, my computer froze there. I apologize.
There he is. Welcome back.
Thank you. Anyway, so yeah, I could definitely see a big win tonight. Definitely, you know, a solid win. I definitely think they're going to do that. One other question, and this has been in talk all week: if the Warriors do lose this series, does Steph still get MVP? Because they've been talking about that a lot.
I don't think so. I think we'd have to see. I think we'd have to see who on Boston steps up and steps in and says, nope, this is our series. We're going to win. Because right now, if the playoffs ended today, I think unanimously everybody would vote Steph Curry. I think unanimously they'd vote for Steph. But definitely. I mean, we still got 3 games left? 4 games left? 3 games? So we got to see. But if it continues on this trajectory, I think Steph's going to win it. This is his finals. I even have that down here. This is his finals MVP to lose this year. Right. I don't think it's much of a debate as to who's the front runner here. We could argue Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown runner up, but as far as the guy who is clearly the best player on the court is Steph Curry. Clearly.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, as you said, if Boston ends up winning this series, it'll probably be either Tatum or Brown. You're saying Brown has to be the leader. So let's just say, so the Game 7, if Game 7 comes up, it will be Father's Day on Sunday. And happy early Father's Day to all the baby daddies out there, you know.
Thank you.
Gotta give a shout out to the baby daddies. Are we playing basketball on Sunday, or is this thing ended in 6?
I think whoever wins tonight's game is going to win the series. So if the Warriors win, it's probably closing in 6 because Boston's not good at home. If the Celtics win, it's probably closing in 6 because that place is going to be absolutely insane.
Yes.
So I don't think this is going 7.
It definitely will. Yeah, just Sully will be a wicked pisser, and he'll definitely be ready to celebrate the Celtics win. That type of thing. I was trying to get back here on my computer. So cool. All right. Cool. If Xander's ready, let's bring Xander in. I just want to give Xander's little prediction here on the finals. There he is. Xander, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good. Glad to be back. How's everybody doing?
Glad to be back. You're
doing good.
We call you Mr. Bold Prediction on this show, and so what's your bold prediction for the rest of the finals here?
Rest of the finals, I think it's not really a bold prediction because I do see it happening. Only because the way that Steph Curry's been playing, but I think if Boston wins it, I think it'll be a team effort, and somehow Steph Curry will still win the MVP.
Okay. Yeah, they've been talking about that a lot for sure. All right, so we
I
will
know,
see.
and I
Yeah.
see it, and I don't see it happening. But you gotta stick with the boldness there, and you gotta go with the impossible.
Exactly.
I think it's only because there's one clear superstar in this series, and that's Steph.
And
he's the only guy who's
100%.
standing out. Everybody else, it's a coin flip,
My cousin asked me a very, very good question. If the series the series had ended, who would have been the MVP? And I had said Jaylen Brown just because he was on the winning team. But honestly, I do think that Steph would deserve it. But Jaylen Brown has been absolutely on fire this finals. I don't think he's had less than 20 points in each game.
No, he definitely did. He hasn't. He's been as JK said, he's definitely been Boston's MVP.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. All right. Well, Xander is here especially tonight because unfortunately the Rangers lost the other night. So the Stanley Cup final is set. We are Xander's one of our hockey guys here at the network, so he's here to help us preview the Stanley Cup final between the Colorado Avalanche. Will be off I think 45 days between the time they swept the series and against the two-time champion and looking to three-peat Tampa Bay Lightning. So, Xander, what is your read on this series? And give us your opinion and your takes. And go, the floor is yours.
All right. So the read on the series right now is it's going to be a very offensive series. It's going to be very offensive based. The last two series for the Avalanche have been very offensive based for them. Game one of the Western Conference Finals, they had 14 goals in total. They scored 8. The Avalanche did. And so, and on the flip side, Tampa Bay and New York went back and forth with 6-goal and 4-goal games respectively. And so I think it's going to be a very offensive based game, but not to take away from any of the defense. The two defensemen, the two top defenses in the league, at least in my opinion, are the two teams playing right now, which are the Lightning and the Avalanche. And two guys to really highlight are on the Lightning, on Tampa Bay side. It's Victor Hedman. I mean, he's a perennial all-star. Mm-hmm. He is one of the best defensemen in the league when healthy, and he's got excuse me, just let me get he's got 14 points. He's got 2 goals, 12 assists. So he's a really big helper guy. He's not as big as a flashy goal scorer as Cale Makar, who I'm going to talk about in a second. Mm-hmm. But he's a really good defenseman. He's been contributing very, very well throughout the entire playoffs, and the finals are going to be no less. I expect him to get no less than 4 or 5 points in the finals. And then on the offensive side, just people to highlight, Kucherov and Stamkos are a 1-2 punch that is absolutely a match to anybody in the league. McDavid, Draisaitl, I mean, those two guys are very good, but the offensive production from both Kucherov and Stamkos, McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, Landeskog, or McKinnon and Rantanen, whoever you want to take.
I want to pause you right there for a second. I want to talk about Stamkos. What he did the other night in Game 6 was insane. Now, basically,
absolutely, he took over.
Scores that first goal. Rangers come back, score in the third period, and he's like, "All right, this is my house." And 5 seconds later, boom, back in the net.
Exactly.
I was at a gig, and my boy Mike, who was on that last week, was texting me all what was going on. And I'm sitting there. I think we might have been playing This Is How We Do It, Jonathan, believe it or not. And I was like, all right, this is how we do it. We're going to win. And then I get the text. I'm like, I'm like, the band's looking at me like, what's going on? I'm like, you don't even want to know. But yeah. So, and then I came home, watched the highlights, and man, Stamkos had a hell of a series against. But he seemed to like really wake up in that Rangers series. Would you agree?
Yeah, he is. He's one of again, like one of those perennial all-stars, but he's had some injury concerns over the past couple of seasons, but that's because he's getting up there in age. But when he's on the ice, he's one of the best players on the ice at any given moment.
Right.
The first goal that he scored, honestly, I think that was, I don't think that he didn't mean to do it, but I think that was kind of just like one of those shots that you just chuck up and hope that it goes in. But it slotted in top corner, and it was a goal, and I was just like, wow, that's bad. And I thought that was, and in my head I was like, oh, that's a sign for things to come, and it was. So Stamkos obviously scored the second and shut down the Rangers. in 6. And so yeah, Stamkos, Kucherov, and I mean Kucherov's got 23 points, 7 goals, 16 assists. If they win the Stanley Cup, then Kucherov will most likely be the Conn Smythe
Yeah.
trophy winner. I mean, him or Vasilevsky, because
about to say, that
Vasilevsky has just
keeper.
been absolutely
That
keeper is a
brick
absolutely
wall.
godlike. He is the best goalkeeper in the league by far.
Probably in the
And-
world right now, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the
Yeah.
world. And he's 12-5 in the playoffs. They haven't had to start Brian Elliott once. So he's really been that guy for them. And he's just going to continue to get better and be better. And I think if they win the series, it's going to be between him and Kucherov. Now on the flip side, it is Darcy Kemper. Darcy Kemper has been really good, surprisingly, for the Avalanche. He wasn't that great with Arizona, but that was because Arizona was kind of like a flawed franchise. But
Mhm.
he woke up with the Avalanche, and he really showed that he is the number one goalie, and he's been doing really well. And on the defensive side, Cale Makar, obviously one of the best young defensemen. I think I've mentioned him at least once in a previous show, just saying,
Yeah.
like, watch out for him. He's a really, really good guy. And
Mhm.
as a young defenseman, it's hard to make yourself a name in the league as a young defenseman, but he really has. And Nathan McKinnon and Gabriel Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, all those guys, they are just solid. Nazem Kadri, I think they get him back for the finals. So so it's going to be very interesting, the
What's-
offensive production.
Let's
So,
talk about McKinnon for a minute. McKinnon, obviously has had a great playoff run this year. Definitely been the leader of this team. Was the number 1 draft choice back in 2013. Has really become the leader of this club. And it's interesting because this club, they go back to the days of Joe Sakic, and Patrick Waugh and all those guys. But it's interesting how this particular Avalanche team is really. I mean, they really haven't struggled much in the playoffs. They had that one little game against St. Louis where they blew it in the end and they blew it in overtime, but they really haven't struggled. So now with a team, and I want you to both comment on this, a team having, they're going to have basically 9 days off. Now we saw what happened with Tampa when they had 9 days off before the Rangers series, kind of come out flat. You obviously can't practice at game speed. There's just no way to do it.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, I'll go to you first. Just in general, a team coming off a huge rest, at this time of the year, I mean, obviously it's good for injuries, but can they come out hot because they're going against the champs? What do you think?
That's the difference. What you just said is the difference. What is the championship medal of the other team? What is the mentality of that other team? Tampa Bay has been here twice. And they've been in the playoffs in the last however many years, they're always in the playoffs. They're going to come ready. This is history here. This is the 3P. This is and this city is buzzing for this 3P. Like, they're going to be wild in Tampa. And Tampa is a championship team. They have the superstars, they have the offense, they have the goalkeeping and the defense. So, I mean, it's going to be Colorado's there's going to be an adjustment period in that first period where Colorado is going to get punched in the mouth from Tampa because, like you said, they've had basically no adversity throughout the entire playoff run, whereas Tampa has. They were down 2-0 going back to Tampa in the last conference. So, like, they have the hardened, they have the personality, the resilience of a championship team. I don't think there's going to be much of a let off from Tampa. From Colorado, there's going to be an adjustment, at least for a period of time. They're going to have to adjust to that speed and adjust to that attack power that Tampa has.
Right. Xander, now what about you? And I'm going to throw this into the mix. Let's talk about the elevation in Colorado. I've been to Colorado. I've worked up there. It's when you're coming down from the swamp here in Florida, they have to adjust, so that game 1, they've had a tough physical series against the Rangers. Yes, they got a couple days off, but I mean, I don't know if they're probably not getting up there till tomorrow, but even in 24 hours in that altitude, and then, it could be a tough adjustment for them. What do you think?
So I see this every time when I see a Colorado team play, whether it's the Denver Nuggets, Colorado Avalanche, Denver Broncos, whichever one. I see that a lot, and I see that concern a lot, and I think that is a huge concern when it comes to the Lightning. Yeah, they have that championship caliber team, but playing up in Colorado is hard for any major sports team. And so they're going to have to make their own adjustments. And while I think Colorado is going to have to make the bigger adjustment because they haven't been here before, this is new ground for them, or at least they haven't been here in a while. This is new ground for them. They've been a playoff team, but this is new ground. And as JK said, he mentioned that the Lightning have been here before twice, and they've won it twice. They've been in this exact situation against a powerhouse team that they can shut down with their goaltending and their defense, and the offense can produce. And so I think it's going to be major adjustments needed on both sides of the thing. On both sides of the puck. It's going to be the Avalanche really needing to adjust to that championship atmosphere, because they've been in that sort of like that championship atmosphere. That Western Conference Finals was a championship atmosphere, but they blew through that. This is the real finals. This is the real deal. This is the atmosphere that you need to get into, and then the Lightning are just gonna have to actually adjust to the atmosphere up in Colorado, and so it's gonna be rough. And I think for the first game, I think most teams, all the teams will win at home. So I think this game will go, or the series, I don't know if I'm going a little too far in this, but I think the series will go to 7, and Avalanche will end up winning it because of that home advantage, because the Avalanche are one of the best teams at home.
So you think the Avalanche are going to beat Tampa in the Stanley Cup?
They're going to shut.
You got the Avalanche.
They're going to shut down the three-peat.
Ooh!
Wow!
All right.
And if we want a bold prediction,
like
want a bold prediction, Nathan McKinnon will have a hat trick in at least one of those games.
All right.
A hat trick. Wow.
Yes, sir. He is that much of an offensive threat, and I think that's going to be really hard to stop, especially with all the depth that Colorado has. They're the deepest team in the league, so I think with all the depth, it's going to be really hard for the Lightning to cycle through all of that.
Yeah. Now, JK, the reason we call Xander Mr. Bold Prediction, because when the NFL playoffs came around, he predicted Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. He called it. We have it on tape. He called it.
Really?
So that's why he's Mr. Bold Prediction. Yeah. Beginning of the playoffs, he picked Cincinnati. So
I also did pick the draft bold prediction as well. I mean, I didn't say it fully because it was the only quarterback, but the first quarterback off the board was to the Steelers.
Yes, you did call that. That is very true. All right, so obviously, Jonathan, you're in the Tampa area, so you're obviously favoring with the home team for the three-peat, I would assume.
Yeah, I watched Colorado play, and like hockey's not my number one sport. I'll be the first one to admit it. But this NHL playoff series, I think, has been the most interesting and the most entertaining in a while. And so, between basketball games I've been watching, and Colorado is very formidable. Like they have come back from some adverse situations and shown that they have the backbone to do it. But this is Tampa. And like I told you during the Rangers series, Yoel, you cannot give a championship team life in the playoffs. Right. You cannot give them life. They were down 2-0. When you have a championship team down 2-0, you stomp on their throat and end the threat, because if you give them any life, they will come back, especially in hockey. It seems to be hockey for some reason. Like, I think we're going to have our first 3-0 deficit, if it hasn't happened already, and somebody come back and win the series in hockey, because it's so fast paced and there's so many things that can happen. Like in hockey, you cannot give people life, and Tampa's the champs. Colorado's been giving people life in some of these playoff games, and luckily they're like Xander said, they're deep, so they have the bench to throw out there. But these are the champs, and this is history. I'm going with Tampa.
All right, so you got Tampa, you got Colorado. I'm gonna go with Colorado only because the Lightning beat my Rangers, so I cannot root for them. I don't want to see a three-peat.
Come on,
it is. It's East Coast. It's East Coast bias. I'll admit it. It's East Coast bias. It's hometown. It just I'm just faithful, that kind of thing. Cool. All right, we're gonna take a short.
People like to see three-peats, so.
Exactly. No, exactly. People want variant. People don't like dynasties in sports. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. And we're going to talk a little baseball, a little Mets and Yankees, how they are the cream of the crop in Major League Baseball right now. We'll be right back.
Get ready. This summer, the Arena League Sports is on ASAP Network. Tune in live on either the Tiki Live or Roku app, as well as your smart home TV.
All right, we are back. We want to thank DeLay Homes in Arizona for being a sponsor of the network. Thank you so much for partnering with us. And we're also real excited about getting the Arena League happening. Next season, we're going to be doing all the broadcasting play-by-play. It's going to be a lot of fun doing that. All right, let's talk some baseball. We are in the middle of a baseball season. Right now, the two top teams in the league are both teams from New York, my New York Mets, which I'm sporting a hat tonight, and our hated rival, the New York Yankees. Yankees have the best record in the league right now. They've been on a streak, but it's been interesting. If you look at both teams, and one of the reasons they have such good records is not only because they're good baseball teams, but they've beaten up on the bad teams in the league. If you go down both their schedules, they've really beaten up on the bad teams. But when it comes down to it, it's hard. It's like the question is, who reigns in New York is the best. Record-wise, it could be the Yankees. Spiritually, it could be the Mets. I know where I stand, but let's hear from you guys. So, Xander, right now, Yankees or Mets, bottom line, when it comes down to it, which team you think is going to be the better team?
The Yankees. Right now, the Yankees are really, their their batting is off the charts right now. I have not seen a Yankees team bat like this in a while. Judge is hitting 24 home runs, 48 RBIs, 71 hits, batting .318, which is absolutely insane for a slugger like him. And their pitching is just also insane. Garrett Cole's 7-1. Nobody has more than one loss on the starting pitching rotation. So their pitching is absolutely insane. Nobody has less than 50 strikeouts as well. So that is absolutely also, again, insane. And then Clay Holmes has been really a big story for the Yankees. Aroldis Chapman went down, and Clay Holmes was the replacement, and he now has 9 saves, as many as Chapman, but also 29 strikeouts. So
And there's talk of Chapman actually coming back when not being the closer and Holmes staying in that closer role.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't blame him. Holmes has been absolutely thriving in that role, and I'm really, really glad because I play fantasy baseball, and I have Clay Holmes on my team, so he's been absolutely killing it for me, and it's great. And
don't get in that fantasy league with Tommy Pham and what's his name, right?
Josh
Peterson, right?
Josh Peterson. I can't. No. Staying as far away from that as possible. Not trying to get a visit from Tommy Pham.
No, definitely not.
But I can't take away from the Mets. The Mets are doing something that I haven't seen the Mets do in a while. They've started out really, really well these past couple of years, but they've also kind of just let that go. They've really seemed to started to gear together and really get that momentum going, so they don't lose the momentum and they don't start like slipping a little bit in the standings. Pete Alonso is still just one of the best players on the Mets right now. 18 home runs, 57 RBI, 65 hits, batting .284, which is, that's almost Hall of Fame worthy to me.
Definitely MVP worthy for sure.
Maybe not Hall of Fame, excuse me. Yeah, MVP. I don't know why I said Hall of Fame. MVP worthy. He's definitely in the running for NL MVP. Him and Machado are both absolutely insane right now. And pitching wise, Carrasco and Peterson's 3-0. I can't remember their names, but Carlos Carrasco 7-2, 68 strikeouts. Chris Bassett's 4-4, but he has 74 strikeouts, leads the team. And Edwin Diaz. Let's talk about him real quick. 12 saves, 48 strikeouts.
Yeah,
that is unbelievable. He almost has as many strikeouts as Max Scherzer, and I know that Max Scherzer's been injured, but a closer should not or a relief pitcher very rarely has 48 strikeouts now, like at this point in the season. So that's just insane. So
well, if you saw him last night, he was throwing 101, and he made Mike Trout look stupid last night.
You'll
in the
never
eighth
guess
inning.
he's also on the fantasy team.
Yeah, there you go. No,
I saw the 5 strikeouts that he had, and I was like, wow,
it was insane.
Absolutely.
It was absolutely insane. All right, JK, what is your take about the New York baseball teams, and like what do you think is going to end up in the end, like, you know, what's going on here?
Xander pretty much summed it up perfectly. It's the Yankees. It's the Yankees, and I compare the Yankees and the Mets kind of like the Lakers and the Clippers. You know how they're always battling for who's the better ball club, but the Lakers just have that. They just have that. They have that history, you know, and the Yankees the Yankees aren't just like, they don't just have that history. They're really, really good. And when the Yankees are really, really good, it's really, really bad for other teams. So hopefully it's not a New York World Series, because I don't think the city can take it. That's the last thing that we need is for New York to burn to the ground because of baseball. But I think for everything Xander just said, I think it's going to be the Yankees, but that's not to take away from the Mets and what they're doing. They can make some noise. They were in the World Series not long ago. We talked about that last time. So it's not like they don't have the experience. So, you know, the Mets can make some noise this year.
No, and you know, and it's funny, you know, the Met fans were very optimistic this year when we got Buck Showalter as the manager. We knew the culture would change, we knew the mindset would change. We knew it wouldn't be all this by the book analytics. It would be whatever he was feeling. I mean, the fact that on this road trip in LA that he went out and pulled out his starter in the middle of an at bat because the batter hit a foul ball that almost like went out of the stadium. He's like, "Nope, you're done." Pulls him out. Relief pitcher comes in, strikes the guy out. I mean, Buck manages with his heart and his soul. So he's not like one of these guys who's like, you know, following the little tech guy on the Schwinn bicycle, you know, in the sweatshirt coming from MIT. Like, this is what the numbers say. No, he's not doing it that way. I mean, this Yankee team is a great team this year. I mean, they're hitting the ball well, picking up Matt Carpenter off like the garbage heap, basically. Him coming in, hitting 6 home runs in his first 10 games as a Yankee is just nuts. Judge is, you know, all Judge is doing is basically just making himself money because he wanted that $300 million, and someone's going to give him the bag at the end of the year. That's for sure. You know, it could be a Subway Series. It could be that both the Mets and Yankees have the league MVP. But it's interesting that a stat that you said, Xander. You said that Judge has 24 homers and 48 RBIs, whereas Alonso's got 17 homers and 54 RBIs, something like that. Yeah, I forget what's the exact number of Alonso's RBIs.
57.
Right, 57. So I always look at a quality hitter with the ratio when they're a power hitter. I always like to see that ratio be more than just 2-1. You know, when you're a 2-1 home runs to RBIs hitter, that means you're not hitting singles, you're not hitting doubles, you're getting up there, and the only way you're hitting runs in is you're hitting home runs. Alonso has been able to knock in runs not only with the long ball, you know, and he's the king of the long ball. He's been the home run derby king the last 2 seasons. But, you know, he's knocking guys in with singles and doubles and in clutch situations. So, you know, even though I'm a little biased towards the Mets, you know, I think with that constructiveness in the lineup and able to manufacture runs a little better, it could work better in the playoffs. I mean, obviously, you know, we all know pitching wins championships. If DeGrom and Scherzer come back healthy, you know, if DeGrom comes back after the All-Star break, we just need to hold him off till after the All-Star break. He'll come back, you know, give me 5-6 good innings. This bullpen is building some up. Diaz has got his confidence. So, you know, it's going to be a great summer. It's finally going to be a good summer for Met fans, be able to sit and watch baseball. Yankee fans, once again, are like, oh, yeah, we're going to win the series. And they're having a season like they did back in the year they won 116 games. Was that the 98 team, the 98 team. So it's going to be a fun summer to watch baseball. Definitely look for a lot of other baseball points that we'll touch on the next couple of weeks, but I wanted to touch on those 2 things this week. The last thing I want to talk about is we don't talk much golf on this network in general, but the golf scene has gotten very much like a WWE soap opera, or all of a sudden, like this new this new organization, you know, it's like they're like the NWO of golf, you know. If you could call them that. The LIV tour started backed by Saudi Arabian money. A lot of big stars like Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, and Phil Mickelson are some of the big names that have jumped from the PGA onto this tour. Huge money grab. I mean, and some of these younger guys were making good money on the tour. I mean, Phil's had his day. I could see that. But you know, is this going to be something that they're going to get a money grab and then realize, you know, yeah, the money's good, but we're not being treated the way we were treated on the PGA? Or is this LIV thing going to actually stick around? We've seen a lot of leagues try to compete with especially in football. All these different football leagues try to compete with the NFL, and NFL always reigns supreme. Is the PGA strong enough that they can, you know, hold off this money league with this Saudi money? No, and you know, we can talk about the politics involved as well. But JK, I'm going to go to you first.
I think it's impossible to say right this second because it's so new. So we got to watch it play out a little bit before, because the rules are changed, right? Like 3 rounds versus 4. Instead of 100 golfers and having cuts, there's 48 golfers and they play all the way through. Like it's impossible to tell, but I do think that this is actually good for the PGA. It's actually good for the PGA because now they're able to see, like every league has a moment where you're able to see what people want from your sport because they go and watch somebody do what you're doing in another way somewhere else. Like the NFL and the USFL is a good example of that. You're not gonna take away from the NFL. I don't think they're actually going to overtake the PGA Tour at this point because it's brand new. But let's see how it plays out for a year. Let's see who else jumps on board and let's see what happens. You know, maybe with shorter rounds and less golfers, people pay more attention because now every round matters. You know, now, I mean, every round's always mattered, but you know what I'm saying? Like when it gets more scarce, people pay more attention, and let's see what happens. So it's definitely a money grab. You know, golf is a money sport, but I don't think the PGA Tour should feel threatened at this point because this is a brand new venture. Let's watch it play out and see what happens before you know, they start to get all up in arms about losing out.
Right. They didn't even have a TV deal yet. I think you could just watch them like on YouTube or something like that, you know, which
exactly.
I mean, hey, you can watch us on YouTube, but you know, I mean, you can watch you can watch anything on YouTube nowadays.
Right.
But you know, Xander, what's your take on this? You know, what do you feel as far as like are they going to be like the evil NWO to the PGA or something like that?
Well, just as a disclaimer, I'm not a golf guy at all. So I did a little bit of research before this, and so and I tried to like understand this the best as possible. But from my understanding, it feels like the LIV was started because obviously players were unhappy with the payment that they were getting and how the PGA was set up. And as far as is this a money grab? No, I feel this is a legitimate like trying to start up a new league, but I just don't think it's going to last. How many if you don't make the cut, let's say you are trying to make the cut for the LIV. Yeah, there's 48 golfers, but how many golfers do you think want to be in the LIV right now? Because it's guaranteed money at this point. So if let's say you don't make the cut for the LIV, you are now not eligible for PGA competition. So where are you going to go from there? So I think at some point that's just going to be too much. And I think that the PGA will eventually take over. But to JK's point, I do think that the PGA will take something away from this and change something about it to make it a little better for them. But I don't think it's a money grab. And I think it's like a legitimate startup. But I just don't think it's going to last, because how long can you last with 48 golfers, a guaranteed prize pool? And yeah, it's backed by Saudi Arabian money, but it's going to be very hard, in my opinion, to keep up with all that.
Right.
So,
and you made a good point as far as a lot of these players. Well, the PGA is saying, well, you're going to lose your membership if you go on this other tour, and so they're not going to be able to compete in the Masters, the U.S. Open, you know, the British. I mean, the major tournaments, the FedEx Cup. You know, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I'm not a golf guy, but I just know about these majors just from being a sports guy. And, there's a
Right.
lot of money to be won, and these guys have gotten their name and their money. I mean, none of these guys are crying poverty, going over there. A lot of these guys have won majors, especially Phil. I mean, Phil probably went over there on his own jet. So I don't want to hear from Phil, whatever, that type of thing. So
but there's a reason that they went over there, though. That's the thing. That's the thing that if there's anything that's going to threaten the PGA Tour, it's the reason why these big name golfers are going over to a new league. That's if so the PGA is really ruining itself. Really, this other place just offered what those players wanted. So
right. Well,
I feel this is like a contract dispute in the NFL. I feel like they wanted to get paid more money for what they were doing, so they now want to go start a new league to get paid more for what they're doing. But again, how much can that sustain?
Right. It almost got. I heard a comparison today to almost like the ABA when the ABA started, when they got top players like Dr. J and George Gervin out of college, and they were offering them more money, and eventually got absorbed into because they weren't getting the attendance and they weren't getting eventually got absorbed into the NBA. Our producer Tony's with us. Good evening, Tony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, gentlemen?
Always good, and thank you, Tony, for all you do behind the scenes. We always appreciate it. Do you have a quick little take here on this golf thing?
I do. I have a couple things. So this to me kind of reminds me, how when you're in a relationship with somebody with whoever you're with, and then they leave, and then you realize, man, I miss what I had. I feel like that's how the PGA is now with this, this Saudi golf league. Because think about it, you lost Phil Mickelson, you lost all these people, and now they're like, man, we lost all these people. You know what? They're not allowed to come back. They can't move on. They can't get more money. They're not allowed to do that. Like
a bitter breakup.
It is. It's like a bitter break. Because think about it. Like Xander, and like Jonathan said, it's like a contract dispute. None of these guys are really hurting for money. But at the same time, you look at somebody like Tiger Woods, who is basically, kind of like the king of golf. And it's like, okay, he's making a majority of the money. We're kind of getting whatever's left over. We want a big chunk of money like that. So we're going to go somewhere that's going to be willing to pay us. Now, there's a lot of politics that go along inside of that, and I don't want to dive too deep into it. But we've started to see a lot, and you kind of even mentioned it with WWE with this, whole like NWO, like the ultimate bad guy thing. Look at what Saudi Arabia has given to the WWE to the point where they have their own pay-per-view that they exclusively do over in the country that WWE exclusively does just for them and brings like all these old wrestlers out of retirement and whatnot because they have the money that they're willing to funnel into this.
Right.
So kind of like Jonathan said, I think it's good for the PGA because it will force them to realize, okay, maybe we should start to pay these players a little bit more. And I know I've heard, a lot of counters of, well, they need to be playing it for the sport of golf. They have their endorsements. It's to get their name out there. Yeah, but, like any athlete and really like any person, there comes a point where, yeah, that's cool. But I also want to earn a decent chunk of change. Like I'm not doing this for free. Like I enjoy it, but I want to get paid to enjoy doing it as well. So that's kind of my big take. I think if they do it correctly and if they do it in the smart way, it will probably be around until the PGA kind of gets over the bitterness of the ex-girlfriend leaving, moving on to someone different. And then they're like, okay, we'll make amends. You're not suspended anymore. We'll pay you more money now. Like that's my take.
See the kids every weekend. All right.
Yeah. We'll split custody. You get them one weekend. I get them next. We'll split holidays. It's fine.
Exactly. Oh, the sports is the ultimate reality show, no matter what. Cool. All right, I want to move on to our final takes of the night. This could be anything and anything you want to talk about, that type of thing. There's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things happening this week. Let's start with you, Xander. You got any sort of a final hot take for me for this week?
You might not like it, but the Phillies have been doing. I mean, I know that they just lost really, really badly to the Diamondbacks the other day, but they've been doing really well. They're 9-1 in their last 10. I feel that if this continues, and that's a huge if, knowing the Phillies, if this continues, I think they could give the Mets a run for their money at some point.
Well, they could. It's interesting that all of a sudden they fire Joe Girardi and then they go on this winning streak. So it's
exactly.
We talked about culture with Buck Showalter. Maybe the Girardi culture was not working in that clubhouse. So it is a very, very interesting take. All right, JK, what about you? You got a final take for me tonight?
Kind of looking into the future. Bradley Beal to Miami.
Ooh. There's been rumors of that. I like that. That'd be interesting.
That would be a great fit for him with Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal.
And
you trade
number one finally.
Yeah,
right. And you would trade. Let's say he's a DC. You give him a draft pick. Maybe you kind of need Kyle Lowry. Give him a draft pick. Give him some bench players because they're not going to win. DC's not going to win.
No.
Trade them.
But really, for DC, no matter who they get, Miami has enough depth guys. Those could be quality starters for DC. So I mean I feel like they win in the trade really, regardless.
Well, DC's got a lot of youth in that team. Yeah. No, that's an interesting. I like that. I would definitely like to see that. All right, Tony, got something for us?
Kind of like Jonathan. In the near future, I see the Warriors coming out Game 7, retake the dynasty. It's going to be Curry and Draymond. NBA goes through the West again.
Question, Tony. Does Draymond get traded at the end of the year?
Ooh. No, I'm going to say no. He as much as kind of bad as Draymond has been throughout this series of finals, look at what he does for the Warriors throughout the regular season, the little stuff that he does, that he adds to the team that nobody it's one of those, they're so little you never really notice. But again, it's one of those, it's like the girlfriend when she leaves. You don't realize it until it's gone. Like, when you get your food, it's like, man, what was that little bit of like that was just in there? And she's like, oh, I used to add this to make it better. It's like, dang, I missed that. Like that, I think that would be the Warriors if they got rid of Draymond.
Is there some subtext here with the girlfriend comparison tonight, Tony?
No, I don't know what it is. I'm like, this just fits, man. This is just fitting everywhere today. Like you said, this reality show. It's like people are just bitter. Like, I don't like them. Well, why? Why don't you like them? I don't know. It's like an angry ex. You just don't like them.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. My final take is next Monday night, which will be here the day after Father's Day. Happy Father's Day once again to all the baby daddies out there. We're going to be talking about I think we'll be talking about a Warriors championship, but I think there will be a Game 7 on Sunday night. I think they will be playing basketball, and I have a gig till 9:00, so I'll be home to watch the second half of that game, and hopefully I'll be able to stay up and watch the crowning of Golden State winning their 4th championship. They're in their 6th final in 8 years. The dynasty continues, but there was talk today about the salaries on that team, and they might not be able to afford to keep this team together. So the trading of Draymond might be a salary cap necessity. So we'll see what happens come the NBA draft. You never know. We'll definitely have a draft preview when that comes up in a couple of weeks. But thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks to all you guys for joining in on the conversation. Great stuff as always. Tony, thank you for all the behind the scenes, everything like that. And we will see everybody 8:00 next week. Enjoy the game. We'll see you next time.
Let's go Dubs.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field.